Hi everyone. Today's unique story. A passage filled with feelings, accidents, and comfortable moments. Get to know Joe, a quiet pizza delivery guy assimilation of life. However, one fateful day Joe has an unexpected visitor from destiny. A forgotten Pitbull wet in the rain, but what Joe doesn't know, does this dog have a secret? A unique link to one of the world's most famous stars, Reeves. Keanu. This goes beyond a Pitbull and Joe's story. It's a journey filled with encounters that alter lives. Getting rid of loneliness and developing the changing power of passion. Is it possible for a chance meeting to truly alter everything? Moreover, where will this young couple's bond be? The loyal Pitbull and the pizza delivery guy direct them. Come along with us as we explore the story. A guy who delivers pizza recovers a lost Pitbull, unaware that it's Keanu Reeves' faithful companion. There are surprises at every turn, and every feeling has to go to your heart. Do not look away because a story is about to be told. You won't forget it, so let's get started. Joe firmly grasped the steering wheel. During the heavy rain, he drummed relentlessly on his battered roof. The pizza delivery vehicle groaned and rattled. Each time it came after a puddle compared to usual, the day had stretched on longer. Moreover, the rain only made matters worse. A cheese pizza was his last delivery. Going to a running apartment at a narrow alley's end, raising his hoodie to protect himself downpour, Joe got out of the car and grabbed the pizza box. For forgetting to bring an umbrella, he cursed himself. Being well aware that this season recorded for unpredictable rainstorms, I hope this is the final one. As he rushed through the puddlers, he muttered upon presenting the pizza, a curtain nod, and a few crumpled bills were given to him. After all this time, it was not quite enough to lift his spirits. Day grueling. Going back to his chair, Joe took a deep breath and paused for a moment, aiming to get rid of his irritation. However, with the rain's pattern, a faint whine was heard by him. Ahead, he peered into the dark alley. Is he murmured to himself by someone there? The sound grew louder once more. Now like a cry for assistance, Joe walked cautiously in the direction of the noise. With every step, his rain-soaked sneakers squelch. The street lamps' dim light, the damps cast eerie shadows. Initially, graffiti covered the walls. He believed it to be a stray cat. There were a lot of abandoned animals in this town. However, as he got closer, he noticed a shiving figure inside a trash can. A Pitbull. Its gray, smoky coat was covered with dirt and rain. Its big, lovely eyes were fixed on him. Hope and pain mixture shining through. The dog shuddered and whimpered softly once more. Don't leave me here, as if I were leading. Joe wasn't really a lover of animals. In actuality, he had never owned a pet before. However, a chord was struck by this assistant creature. God damn it. Deep within him, kneeling by the dog, he muttered, "What are you doing alone out here?" The dog is a little guy. Naturally, they didn't respond. However, its eyes spoke for itself. For a moment, Joe hesitated. Prior to removing his thin jacket and covering the trembling animal with it, he said softly, "You're safe now." His emotional voice hoarse, transporting the dog to his vehicle. Joe carefully positioned it on the passenger seat. Prior to the engine starting, the dog's eyes were half closed as it curled up. However, each time the car swerved, it gave them a chance to look at him, like it was trying to remind itself that it wasn't alone. Joe mused aloud. What do I call you? Not anticipating a reaction following a thought, he gave Buddy a chuckle. Yes, you will be Buddy. That fits, the name felt correct, but Buddy didn't react. The act of simply naming the dog seems to forge a connection between them. Joe became aware that he felt accountable for the minor, a vulnerable creature that had not been expected. Joe's apartment was anything but suitable for a dog. A lumpy couch and a cramped space, a swaying table for dining, and in the corner was a dusty guitar. While he was carrying Buddy inside, he was acutely aware of his lack of preparation. No blankets or dog food, Not even the most clever way to take care of an animal, the unfamiliar surroundings were examined by Buddy. Wary eyes remaining shivering, Joe gently set him down on the couch and rumbled about a towel. Before you catch a cold, you must dry off. Trying to maintain a steady voice, he said Joe saw a few scratches on Buddy's fur while it was drying. Moreover, the dog's body has bruises. You appear to have been going through a difficult period. Buddy, he muttered, keep quiet. However, Joe's heart was tugged by the sadness in its eyes. He was unable to imagine what the poor thing had gone through. Joe looked around his almost empty fridge and found some boiled chicken left over. He placed it in front of Buddy on a plate, who cautiously sniffed prior to eating the meal with gusto like it had not been eaten in days. Nobody is taking it from you, so slow down. Joe tucked his lips together and set a tiny smile. Observing Buddy eat, a strange feeling of satisfaction was brought about. In a long time, for the first time, Joe thought he had accomplished something that was very important. However, he quickly dismissed the idea. I'm unable to keep you, Buddy. I am incapable of even caring for myself. Soon after, Buddy fell asleep on the couch. It breathed calmly and steadily. But Joey sat in an old chair and watched the dog since he couldn't sleep. His mind was racing with questions. Who owned Buddy, and why had they left him alone? And above all, what was he supposed to do at this point? Buddy's collar was picked up by Joe. Upon close inspection, it was composed of fine leather. Very pricey with the KR initials KR. IT is elegantly engraved. Is that someone else's or your name? A strange uneasiness that was lodged in his chest made him wander. However, he was unable to explain why. All he knew for now did that Buddy finally get into his life. And just possible right into his heart that cast faint rays in the morning sun. Joe's apartment's flimsy curtains, he opened his eyes. Feeling the weight of a night without sleep putting pressure on him as he glanced at the couch, he noticed that Buddy was still sleeping peacefully. In the thin blanket, curled up the previous evening, Joe had wrapped himself about him. Joe was unable to shake the strange sensation. He was a young man here. One man finding it hard to make ends meet, suddenly in charge of a dog he had met a few hours prior. However, something concerning Buddy's eyes instilled in him a sense of duty, a need for this creature to be protected that somehow found its way into his care. Carefully moving to prevent waking Buddy, Joe got up and brewed a cup of coffee for himself. He took a slow sip while occasionally staring at the dog, who breathed softly and steady, added a feeling of calmness to the opposite. Just hours before, the apartment was chaotic. Buddy had been soaked. Trembling mess. He appeared safe now, even information okay, Buddy. Joe spoke to himself more often than to the dog. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's figure this out, though. Upon Buddy's eventual awakening, he looked around and stretched his legs. His large, naive eyes are looking for Joe. H.I. Buddy the dog perked up when Joe softly called. Joe's tail was wagging, just enough to make him smile. Even though it was a simple gesture, Joe's spirits were lifted. In a manner he hadn't experienced in a while. Buddy needed some fresh air, Joe decided. However, he needed a leash first. The initials KR on the leather collar was in position already, but Joe didn't have a leash and was avoiding spending cash on one. Improving on Buddy's collar, he tied a piece of old rope. Please don't make fun of me there. As they descended the stairs, Joe laughed. He was obediently followed by Buddy. The soft click of his nails on the steps of the Pitbull. Outside people cast wary glances. Joe allowed him to go down the street. The breed was surrounded by palpable stigma. Joe was able to sense the judgment in their eyes. However, Buddy remained calm. Astonishing grace was walking beside him. Joe pondered, why would anyone be afraid of a well-mannered dog? Suddenly, Buddy's demeanor changed. A man was leaning against a wall as they passed. Donning dark sunglasses and puffing on a cigarette, the dog froze. His chest began to rumble with a low growth. Simple Buddy tugging gently on the makeshift leash. Joe said the man is the focus of Buddy's attention. Despite being prepared to shield Joe from an unknown threat, as soon as the man left, Buddy calmed down and resumed his stroll. As if it had never happened, Joe discovered the reaction anomaly. However, they chose not to dwell on it. "Well, you're just sensitive," he said. Even still, it lingered in the back of his mind. Joe and Buddy grew closer over the course of the following few days. Joe's protective nature seemed to be sensed by Buddy and reacted with unwavering devotion. Almost left Joe's side, the dog observing him as he moved from room to room. Joe became aware that Buddy's presence was altering him. He felt less alone and laughed more, and found unpredictable happiness in the little moments they spent together. Just one night, Joe's old guitar was strumming a melancholy tune. Beside him, Buddy lay quietly, staring as if he comprehended every note. "I didn't think I needed you, Buddy," Joe acknowledged, passing his hand through the smooth fur of the dog. "However, a few days later, I might have been mistaken." Joe made the decision to bring Buddy to a vet. His goal was to keep the dog healthy, and hoped to discover more about this enigmatic past. An old woman with kind but professional eyes. The vet a clear examination of the Buddy. Her eyes lingered on the collar made of leather. She asked with the engraved KRKR, "Do you understand what these initials mean?" Raising an eyebrow, I thought it might be, because Joe shook his head. His previous owner's initials. Before speaking, the vet took a moment to study the collar. The leather is not cheap. The owner may have had money by the craftsmanship. Joe didn't like the idea, which made him uncomfortable, considering that the Buddy can belong to a wealthy person, a people who may have left him alone. Nevertheless, the vet reassured him, declaring whether they genuinely want him back, and notice will be posted. "I'll look for any dog reports that are missing." Buddy became an indispensable part of Joe's life very quickly. He greeted Joe with a swaying excitement every evening. Upon he returned from his job, as though Joe were the world's most significant individual, the comfortable Buddy bought. Was there something Joe wasn't aware he was lacking? Days growing into weeks, Buddy was more than just a dog, and Joe realized it. He was a friend, a source of inspiration, and a family. Nevertheless, KR's initials persisted. An unceasing reminder of a former colleague Joe couldn't ignore. Joe sat on the couch one night. Beside him, Buddy curled up. He took the collar and used his fingers to find the engraved letters. Exactly what did KR mean? Was it a hint of a more significant tale? Did someone own Buddy, who may be searching for him yet? A look at the Buddy who gazed back with absolute trust. Joe had a surge of uncertainty. Would he be able to? The possible need to give up Buddy. It was an unbearable thought. "Buddy, can you stay here forever?" Joe wished. In response, Buddy gently waggled his tail. He seemed to express that he felt the same way. The morning Joe woke up was chilly. Winter's weak sunlight passing through his apartment's tiny curtains. Buddy was already agitated. Curled up at the couch's foot, his ears perked up. As if conscious of every outside noise, Joe reached down and gave Buddy a head stroke. A sense of warmth emanating from his soft fur. They had been together for a few weeks at this point, and Joe found it harder to believe every day. He used to believe that he didn't like dogs. However, in the midst of these peaceful moments, Joe couldn't get one question out of his head. Where did Buddy actually originate? Joe made the decision to take Buddy for a longer walk that day. On their way to the town center park, he saw a group of individuals. Overcome by a bulletin board, a curious Joe, LED Buddy closer to get a feeling of the commotion as I was caught by a poster. A Pitbull Buddy picture was included. The picture clearly depicted a Buddy. His gentle expression and bright eyes. Joe's heart pounded at the bold text beneath it. $50,000 lost dog reward owner KR. If you find this number, please call it. Joe froze. A wave of emotion struck him as he stared at the poster. A creeping sense of dread and shock confused, he said, "Buddy," observing the dog sitting obediently next to him honestly. "Who are you?" Joe's turmoil seemed to be unaware of Buddy. Seeing him with the same impersonal eyes, Joe tugged gently on the leash as usual. Growing out of the crowd prior to anybody being able to identify Buddy, Joe was unable to concentrate on anything back at his apartment. The words from the poster flashed in his mind. $50,000, he had never imagined having that much money. It might pay off his debts and fix his car. However, the idea of giving up Buddy caused his chest to become painfully tight. Joe looked at the Buddy that was lying on the floor. Whenever their eyes met, he would wag his tail. "Dog, do you really have a lot of money?" Joe said out loud. Why did they allow you to lose yourself like that?" He got Buddy's collar, his fingers running over the engraved KR. That Buddy wasn't just any stray was undeniable. However, the truth was that Buddy had arrived, adding comfort and joy to Joe's otherwise depressive days. Ultimately, curiosity wins out. Joe dialed the poster's number. Slight trembling in his fingers, he wasn't sure what he was looking for in the callers. Closure or just to feel his need for the real thing. When the line made a deep connection, I greeted him with a polished voice. "Hi, this is Keanu Reeves' office." Joe froze. "How may I assist you?" "Do you mean the actor, Keanu Reeves?" "Yes." The voice was professionally replaced. "A report of a lost Pitbull called Buddy was given to U.S. If you know anything, we sincerely appreciate your assistance." Joe's thoughts raced. There was a part of him that wanted to hang up right now. However, he was urged to continue by another part. "I believe I may have located the dog," he hesitantly said, "but I'm not positive." Immediately, the voice on the other end became attentive. "If it's Buddy, could you confirm that Mr. Riva is quite worried about him? He has been a faithful friend for many years." Joe's dog was more than just a dog. He was involved with the life of one of the most loved actors in the world. However, Joe wasn't yet prepared to make a decision. He said, "I need more time," before abruptly hanging up. That night, while Joe strolled around the neighborhood, a sleek black SUV was parked next to his apartment. A man wore a suit and walked out, re-energizing the area in a serious manner. Joe's gut informed him that this had to do with Buddy. Selecting a longer route to return, Joe tried to stay away from the man and the car. However, when they turned the corner, froze. Buddy, a LW growl, his fur bristling, escaped him. "Calm down, Buddy." Tugging on the leash, Joe said. However, Buddy remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the man. The man's gaze turned stringing quickly toward Joe after landing on him. "Pardon me," the man said. His silent voice, however, Joe was uncomfortable with an undertone. "Would you mind answering a few questions regarding your dog?" Joe stiffened, unable to speak. Trying to pull Buddy away, he replied. However, he insisted that I work for Mr. Keanu Reeves. "We're looking for a Buddy," he said. Joe felt the pressure of the circumstance. "If you found this dog, you would be pressing down on him. We would appreciate your cooperation," the man added. "As stated, Mr. Reeves is prepared to present the reward." Joe shook his head. Fear and frustration were roiling within of him. He stated unequivocally, "I need more time." Before nodding, the man studied him for a while. "We will wait, but kindly comprehend. A crucial part of Mr. Reeves's life is Buddy." Joe took a deep breath as the man walked away. However, his stomach knot tightened. He was aware that he would never be able to avoid this. He didn't belong with Buddy, and he would have to confront that fact sooner or later. That evening, Joe was sitting on the couch, and his Buddy was curled up next to him. He rested his head on Joe's lap. Buddy's fur was struck by Joe. His thoughts are a tornado of feelings. To him, Buddy had evolved into more than just a dog. He was a friend and a comforting presence. Buddy, a reminder that life wasn't really so lonely. Joe's voice was thick with emotion as he whispered, "What do you consider I need to do?" I don't want you to leave. However, I am unable to do the incorrect thing." In response, Buddy licked Joe's hand, as seemed to comfort him, and at that precise moment Joe understood what he needed to do. The dog's happiness was putting Buddy's love moreover. He is well above his own emotions. The truth was bittersweet. However, one Joe knew, he couldn't overlook the window filtering the morning light nevertheless. Joe felt heavier than before. Beside him, Buddy was curled up. His kind eyes are fixed on Joe, appearing to sense his inner turmoil. A real conversation about Buddy last night had put Joe in a situation that was unachievable. Joe was aware that his choice would have a profound impact on both of their lives. However, he was unable to postpone any longer. What had to occur would occur. His hands were shaking as he picked up his phone. The day before, he dialed the number he had previously called. The familiar voice of manager Keanu Reeves responded to nearly instantly. "Hi. This is the office of Keanu Reeves." Joe took a deep breath and asked how I could help. "I'm positive that I'm the dog you're searching for." Buddy, before the manager responded, there was a little pause. "Many thanks. Hearing this will excite Mr. Reeves. Please provide your address so we can set up a meeting." Joe hinted that I would like to see him face to face. "I must be certain that Buddy is," he said. Actually returning to the top, the manager didn't object to him. "Naturally, Mr. Reeves would be delighted to meet you." For Joe, the remainder of the day went by in a daze. He was unable to stop thinking about the next meeting. He felt the weight of his decision as he looked at Buddy. "You will see your former owner once more." His voice was caught. He said, "He must be a decent person. Am I correct?" Buddy seemed to sense that something wasn't quite right. He approached Joe on foot. Restricting his head from Joe's leg, Joe gave the dog a tight hug and let out a weak laugh. "I will miss you, sweetie, but I'm certain that this is the proper course of action." That afternoon at Joe's apartment, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of it. A man wore a suit and walked out. Inviting Joe and Buddy into the car politely, they were going to a city luxurious hotel. Keanu Reeves' staying place. Upon arriving in the hotel lobby, Joe thought the glittering chandeliers were out of place. He felt small because of the vast open space and opulence. The other hand's Buddy appeared to be entirely at ease. He moved as if he belonged there, walking naturally. A private lounge was given to Joe. Upon the opening of the door, he noticed a tall, slightly tousled man. A kind smile and long-haired Joe. It was Keanu Reeves. As he stepped forward to shake his hand, Keanu said, "I appreciate you looking after Buddy. There are no words to describe my gratitude." Joe was shocked by Keanu's modesty and dignity. He hadn't anticipated someone so well known. Really down to earth, "I simply did what I believed to be correct," Joe responded while attempting to maintain his composure. Upon kneeling, Keanu called Buddy's name. The dog's tail was wildly wagging, and he was bound to his owner. Joe's eyebrows went up in the scene. Buddy immediately identified Keanu. He leaped to his feet and licked Keanu's hands, as if no time had gone by. "Since their most recent reunion, didn't you miss me, Buddy?" Keanu's voice was filled with emotion. He gave Buddy a beautiful sex. His eyes were beaming with delight. Joe felt like an outsider as he stood back. Seeing Buddy reunited with his owner made him happy. However, he was unable to ignore the feeling of loss creeping in. Keanu shared the Buddy story as they sat down. Buddy was family, not just a pet. He was with Keanu during a few of the hardest times, loneliness and the pressures of celebrity. Keanu said, "Buddy is not just a dog. He saved me in ways that no one else could." From his gaze distance, Joe paid attention. Recognizing the close relationship that Keanu had with Buddy, it dawned on him that letting Buddy go wasn't the right action. There was nothing else to do. Upon finishing, Keanu looked straight at Joe. "I understand that it wasn't easy for you to let your Buddy go. You loved him as if he were family." Joe's eyes spoke for him, even though he didn't respond. Keanu went on, "I want to do something to show my gratitude. Not only the reward cash when Buddy most needed a home, You provided it. Additionally, I believe you could also need a companion. Joe shook his head. Buddy is irreplaceable. However, I'm happy that he found his way back to you. You're right. Keanu smiled warmly. However, if I can be of any assistance to you, initiate a new ERA in your life as they part ways. I'm here. Joe knelt down and gave Buddy a final hug. You'll be all right, Buddy. His voice trembled as he said, I will always remember you, Buddy. His tail waggled, and his large eyes gazed up at Joe, as though he also understood the farewell. When Buddy left with Keanu, Joe stood back and watched, a blend of relief and sadness overcoming him. A week later, Keanu sent Joe a letter. Keanu thanked him again in it, and reaffirmed his pledge to help Joe. It was a check to see whether he ever needed assistance. Not for the reward of $50,000, however, enough to settle Joe's debts and permit him to follow his ambition of becoming a musician. Joe gazed over the check, but what caught his attention the most were the letter's final lines. Both Buddy and I will never forget you. We both owe you a priceless thing. Joe looked at his old guitar and grinned, and realized that it was time to begin creating new melodies. Songs of gratitude, communities, and second life changes in his tiny apartment. Joe said the light streaming through the window in the morning, bringing the old guitar to life. Leaning on the room's corner, everything appeared to be as calm as usual. However, he had a strange new sense of possibility, as if a page had been turned to a new chapter in life. There was no longer a Buddy, and without him, the apartment felt empty. However, Joe was not overwhelmed by the loss. Previously, he had feared instead. The fact that he had met Buddy made him feel grateful. Moreover, for the established friendship the dog had entered his life. Following receipt of the letter from Keanu Reeves, Joe considered his future actions for days. The money that Keanu sent was sufficient to settle his debts and begin fresh, but the main query still stands. Currently, what am I doing with my life? Joe examined his old guitar. Its strings are worn from neglect for years. Previously, he had aspired to become a musician. However, the grind of daily existence had compelled him to forego that dream. Having an opportunity in front of him now, he questioned whether he had the guts to pursue it further. However, he taught me to have faith in myself. He whimpered, perhaps I should do something that actually matters. Joe made the decision to utilize a portion of the funds to repair his guitar. Moreover, purchase a used laptop. He started writing new songs. Using his experiences with Buddy as inspiration, he sat in his tiny apartment late into the night. Melodies he plays on his guitar tracks are being recorded on his laptop, and coping lyrics from an old notebook. Among the first songs he finished was one called The Journey of Buddy, a heartfelt ballad that recounted a dog's disappearance and the partner who, in tough, hard times, found solace in each other. Raw emotion was transmitted by the lyrics, and Joe sang it every time. He had the impression that he was messaging Buddy. Regardless of where he was while browsing social media one day, Joe froze when he heard an announcement. For a competition in local music, professional musicians were invited to perform during the contest. First parties with the grand prize, acting AS, and a chance to record in a skilled studio. Joe hesitated. He has never given a performance in front of an audience, and he became anxious at the prospect of performing on stage. However, he then considered Buddy, his bravery, the way the dog had changed Joe's life, and loyalty. If Buddy could get past his difficulties, he told himself, so can I. During the competition day, to get to the town hall, Joe brought his guitar. The location of the event, nervous energy and excitement filled the room. Numerous contestants are ready to perform. Joe's heart raced, but when he considered Buddy, he was able to settle his nerves. Upon hearing his name, Joe entered the stage. He is momentarily blinded by the bright lights. He inhaled deeply while glancing at the audience, and started playing Buddy's Journey melody. The lyrics of the song unfolded a feeling story of love, finding a place to belong, and being resilient. The audience responded favorably to Joe's genuine feelings. And when he's strumming the last chord, the room burst into cheers. Joe remained there, astonished at the moment's reality, sinking in people had been moved by his music. Following the performance, a man came up to Joe and presented himself as a producer of music. "Joe, your song has truly impressed me. I'd like to collaborate with you to release it," he said. "I believe that many hearts could be touched by your story." Joe found it difficult to accept what he was hearing. He had never dreamed of having this opportunity. After careful thought for a few days, he quickly agreed. The journey of Buddy was expertly documented, and displayed on digital media. The song was very well received. Listeners' positive response and even drew media interest. Throughout an interview, when questioned about the song's inspiration, Joe told the Buddy story. In their common emotional journey, Joe said, "Buddy was a special dog. He did more than simply alter my life. He taught me that occasionally everyone needs a romantic partner." Regardless of our circumstances, weeks following the release of the song, Keanu Reeves gave Joe a handwritten letter. It was brief, but really touching. "I've heard your song, Joe. It's lovely and moving. Buddy is still with me and doing well. However, I think he senses the love you put into the song. I appreciate you sharing the Buddy story with everyone. Continue pursuing your goals. I'm sure you'll succeed. Warm regards, Keanu." As Joe read the letter, he grinned. He had the impression that a new chapter in his life had actually begun. As more than just a musician, however. As someone who now has faith in his own abilities, Joe continued to reside in his tiny apartment. However, his life was forever altered. He wasn't just a pizza delivery guy anymore. He was a musician who played an old guitar, a storyteller, and a people who had learned how to love from Buddy and remember to trust. When Joe missed Buddy, he'd go get his guitar and play your family song. Buddy remained a symbol of hope in his heart, brilliance, and individual love. Consequently, Joe and Buddy's story came to an end. However, their journey's lessons lingered. We frequently encounter unexpected obstacles in life, and we find hope during those times. A better version of ourselves, and Love Buddy was more than a dog. He served as a beacon of loyalty and sincere camaraderie. Joe discovered that occasionally a profound act of love is letting go. Moreover, that choice was what opened the door to a new and a life with meaning. We hope that this story has moved you, brought tears to your eyes, and made you smile, and let you know that every encounter occurs for a purpose. We appreciate your participation in this journey. Remember to like the story if you liked it, disseminate it to your friends, and check out our channel for more inspiring stories. And do not forget, today's tiniest act of kindness may permanently change someone's world. I'll see you in the following tale.